Okay. Hi guys, it's your 2Polichics, Tiffany and Cindy back with another video. I am so excited. I'm trying not to yell, but I am excited because we're going to be talking about something I think we all love, Spanish. So today we have two people on, two content creators who have their own personal journeys of learning Spanish. So I'm so excited to discuss learning language, but also focusing on people of color learning language. So we have Damiene Sweeney. It's Damiene, right? Damiene, right?
Damiene.
The
Two syllables. Damiene.
Damiene. Oh, Damiene. I was saying Damiene all this time. Oh, Damiene. Okay. Damiene Sweeney moved to Medellin, Colombia, from Atlanta, Georgia in 2019, September 2019, and you've been living in Colombia ever since. You're self-taught, which I definitely want to talk about that, being a self-taught Spanish speaker. Damiene holds a bachelor's degree in science and electrical engineering. And after you had a contract that ended, I think you told us that you became self-employed, which congratulations on that. So
thank you,
beautiful.
thank you.
And Mike Ben, I don't know if you want to say a little bit of something about yourself, but I know you're a content creator, and I know you teach math, and I know you blog your travels and your studies, which I do love that idea of your blogging, your travels, and showing that we are interested in language. People of color are interested in language. You also live in Georgia, right?
Yes, Atlanta, Georgia.
I especially appreciated one of the videos you did on, you like kind of logged from the first day you learned all the way up to now. So I really appreciate that because I definitely see that change in you. So we'll talk about that. And I think you have 2 years studying now about?
About a year and a half now.
A year and a half, okay. And Damiene,
Yeah.
You have 2 years. How many years do you have? I'm sure you have a lot.
Oh, well, I started back in 2007.
Yes, okay. Yeah. Okay, so welcome, you guys. Welcome to our show. Thank you so much for coming on. And everybody, you know, Tiff. Hi, Tiff.
Hey. Thank you. Hello.
Yeah, thank you
for coming on. Thank you for coming on. So what I first wanted to talk about was living abroad as a person of color and as self-employed. Damiene, what is your experience been like, and why Medellin?
Well, let's see. Yes. Well, let me give you a little bit of background. I lived in the Dominican Republic and also Medellin, Colombia. Why Medellin, Colombia? I was originally under the impression that, you know, media hype is a very dangerous country. You shouldn't go there and you'd be kidnapped. And one day I had a mentor of mine in Atlanta who used to travel to Colombia a lot. He used to go to Bogota a lot. So one day he invited me along. And I was like, yeah, I don't know, man. I kind of like Dominican Republic. And he said, nah, you will love it. So I decided to take the leap 2015. I accompanied him along and I loved it. It was when I came to Colombia, 2 cities I came to, it was like living in the United States without the terrible weather and without a lot of other things. Maybe we can go into it later on. But I didn't miss a beat as far as any type of modern conveniences or first world luxuries, so to speak.
So-called, right?
Yeah, exactly. So-called first world luxuries. Yes. My internet is fine.
That's one of the things I read about, like a lot about internet delivery, certain products you don't have, certain luxuries you don't have. Do you want to go there? Yeah. Yeah. That's but why, what made you really start that Spanish journey?
Okay, so what made me start the Spanish journey was a trip to the Dominican Republic in 2007.
Okay.
And for the first time, I came to a country with the majority of people look like us. Because when anybody tell you or says, the majority of people, if you drop off an African American in Dominican Republic, or you drop a Dominican off in the United States, until you hear them speak, you're not going to be able to tell the difference.
Wow.
It's just simple as that. Wow. And I fell in love with that country. I loved the culture. I loved the food, the area, the atmosphere. Whites. For the first time in my life, I saw white sand on beaches.
Wow.
White sand. And I said, what can I do to make my experience better? I said, I can always pass my phone back and forth as a translating device, or I could take the step and learn to speak the language and communicate myself and become more natural.
Wow.
And that's what it was.
Wow. So, Mike, for you, why did you start with I saw your videos on the journey you took, but what started it? What started it for you?
I always say I wish I had a great story that was like some profound event, like I traveled or had a best friend or something. Like I did not. I was in January of 2020. I think I might have been listening to like Drake or something, right? I just got bored and I was like, what's something that I could do to stimulate my mind? And I found on Spotify a playlist of just Spanish lessons. In the United States, anywhere you go, I don't care what anybody says, you're going to hear Spanish. And so I was like, you know what? I used to watch Telemundo as a kid. Let me see if I could just pick up some phrases, just as a hobby. We just find things online that catch our attention. And from the first moment when the guy was like, to say how are you in Spanish, you say como está. And I realized like, oh, this is not that difficult. Like, let me try for a month to just put some time in and see if I could learn from there. And then from that first month, to me, the feeling of, wow, this word means this in English and this in Spanish. Like I literally can communicate another language. Just the process of learning new words has really kept me motivated. So it was really something by accident. Now my motivations are outside of just, that. Outside of that, I have, interest in learning about new cultures and traveling and possibly one day living outside of the United States and stuff like that. But it was honestly just, I know it's not super fancy and like profound, but that's why I started, honestly.
Wow. I mean, our stories, I think, are just as boring, right?
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask, why were you watching Telemundo when you were a child? What was it? Were you speaking Spanish before, or you just
no? Just flipping through the channels, watching a soccer game, like just hearing a different language. You just hear, the excitement in the channels, and I just remember watching soccer games and boxing matches. My dad used to watch a lot of boxing, so sometimes he liked to watch the Mexican boxers, and so I remember watching that. But honestly, it was not an interest in the language; it was just something different at the time.
Okay.
Wow, that's so interesting. It doesn't matter. I don't really, like you, I don't really have a great story, like something fell on my head or something, but I just know in America you had to take a language, and usually it was Spanish. They used to say like Latin is gone and dead and you're not going to take German. There might have been some French sometimes offered, but I just remember like 4th grade, 5th grade having to take it. And I just was always fascinated with it. My regret now is that I didn't really take advantage of it. Like, as I get older, your friend circle gets smaller and smaller. But when I was in my work days and all that, I had a lot of friends that spoke Spanish. And I just wish that I had really taken advantage of it. I definitely would have been fluent by now. Which brings me to my question. What do you guys think fluency is? Like, do you feel like you're fluent, and what do you think fluency is?
Okay. Well, I'll say for me, fluency is being able to express all of your thoughts and emotions with a level of consistency without pausing in your sentences, just like you speak your first language.
Yeah.
One time somebody told me that fluency is being able to speak about any subject fluidly without pausing in your sentences and expressing your thoughts on any subject. I said, well, I guess I'm not fluent in English, because if it came to quantum physics, I couldn't express anything about quantum physics. So I'm not fluent in English.
Exactly. And that's why we wanted to discuss that question, because I find people are not fluent in their first language.
Exactly.
I can't, like you said,
we don't speak proper English. That's what it is. We don't speak Queen's English or the proper English. So everything is broken, or you have pauses, or even when you're speaking, you mess up on words. So to say that you can't have any pauses, or you have to just continuously, I lose my train of thought all the time in English. Just imagine me in Spanish when I'm speaking Spanish. So I know that was Damiene that was answering that. What about you, Mike? What do you consider your level of fluency, and how you consider yourself to be fluent?
I wouldn't say I'm fluent, just because I still trip up on some conjugations and stuff like that. But for me, the definition of fluency, I think it's a matter of semantics, right? First off, I have to say that it's just a matter of what somebody considers it to be. But to me, I would just say a general comfortability in communicating and communicating the way you want to communicate without barriers. Obviously not with any subject, but I would say 90% of the everyday conversations that people are going to have, if you can do that and not trip yourself up and not feel like you can't express yourself the way you want to, I would consider that fluency, because I know people that have lived in the United States for years. I've had teachers from India that, by the standard definition of fluency, were not fluent in English, but they taught me biology and chemistry. And so as long as you can manage in the language and communicate your ideas, that's my personal definition of fluency.
Okay. Now, I do have a question for you guys. Why did you choose why Spanish and not other languages? And are you guys pursuing any other languages like French? I know Chinese is a big one right now, that, you know, with commerce and businesses and ties, they're saying to learn Chinese is like the new learning of Spanish, where everyone speaks Spanish. If you can actually grasp and understand Chinese, you can go far in business. So what are you guys pursuing, any other languages or no?
Yes, I'm currently right now learning Arabic.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the reason Spanish was because it was the next language that was closest to me and more useful to me. I mean, like you said, in the United States, everywhere you go, people are going to speak Spanish. Some people are going to speak Spanish and not English.
Yeah.
So the next practical language for me to learn would be Spanish.
Wow.
And I don't believe in a person should only speak one language, because that inhibits your life.
Yes.
And for me, to piggyback off of that, Spanish to me just seemed like the most useful, you know, in my day-to-day life. And knowing that, although I like to travel, I hate to fly. So like I have a trip upcoming to Peru that's 6 hours that I'm like looking up like how to get through a long flight. For me, 6 hours is a long flight, right? So
oh man,
I know. So like
I was
the closest.
Say, don't talk about flying right now.
Right. You just got off a flight.
Yeah, it's a background story behind that.
Right, but like the countries that I would be going to in the near future are countries that are Spanish speaking in the Americas. You know, eventually I want to get out to Europe and Africa and eventually Asia eventually. But right now, I honestly don't see myself learning another language until I feel like I've whatever mastered means, you know, mastered Spanish to an extent. Right.
Yeah. Did you experience, and I'm asking this because I've experienced it, where because you're Black, people assume you should maybe be learning Afrocentric languages
Talk about it.
Spanish. Because I've gotten that so many times, like, whoa, what's wrong with your culture? That, you know, why are you moving away from your culture? You learning what you want to learn, but what do you guys think of that? Like, what do you think?
I can tell you all a story. I never talked about this on my channel, but I actually quit learning Spanish after month 2 and bought a bunch of Swahili books because of the pressure of that. Like, why are you learning a language that's not aligned to your culture? They don't like us. You know what I'm talking about? That whole mentality. And so I even like sold all my books and everything. I never talked about this before, but sold all my books and everything, bought Swahili books. Really? I was like, my mom, she really brought this up. She was like, are you really going to allow, like, if we view the world from that perspective, we literally will do nothing. Like, we literally will do nothing if we're looking for that kind of acceptance or to only do stuff that we do. Other groups, I don't know if they really think like that, you know? Like, I don't know if like Chinese people just love Japanese people, but Japanese people learn Chinese, you know? It's not that deep, you know? So I think I'd have experienced that. And luckily I got past that, and it's helped me in other areas of my life too, to not think that way. Like, if I think like they don't like us, I'm not going to that country, I'll go nowhere, you know? Like I could go, you know? So I don't know.
Damiene, have you experienced that?
Oh yes, absolutely. Why are you trying to learn Spanish? You're trying to be something you're not. Those people aren't your people. Why you don't learn an African language? Whatever. Thousands of reasons for me not to learn something. And I said, listen here, do you believe to some extent that as African Americans outside the country, the United States and the media does a disservice to us in the images that they portray on the television?
Yeah.
They said, yes. I said, who better than us to tell our own story? If we can't tell it to the next people that's living next door to us, who's going to tell it for us? The media? I'm gonna tell my own story to the people next to me and the people I'm around.
And unfortunately, go ahead. I'm sorry.
There's a lot of African Spanish speakers. Like when you go to Dominican Republic or you go to Colombia, there's a lot of African.
Or Equatorial Guinea.
Yep.
There's a whole country in Africa that's what they speak, Spanish.
But they hide that from us. They hide that from us.
I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me?
No, you stopped. Yeah, now I can.
Oh, okay. Because the phone, somebody called. So I'm sorry about that. But I was going to say, outside of there's a large portion of Africans that speak Spanish, and when you go to like Colombia or Dominican Republic or a lot of the other, they're black and brown. So when people think Spanish or Spanish speaking, they're thinking people that look like Rosie Perez or Sofia Vergara, but they're not thinking about other people, the Panamanian people, the Honduras people from Honduras. So there's a lot of African people, that's African culture, or let's just say black people that speak Spanish in other countries. So,
and like I said, in Africa, I never even knew about that country.
I didn't either.
And I taught social studies. Social studies, and I never heard of that country. And then I found some channels on it, and I was like, oh, there's a whole country in Africa where that's their native language. It's Spanish. I was shocked. They have the African accent. You can hear it. Isn't that interesting, right?
It's
they
so
have
interesting.
It's interesting.
But I don't understand what's the issue with learning something new, regardless of what it is. If you're learning and enhancing something that will be good for your employment, good for your personal life, what is the problem? Like, why?
It looks like Damiene wants to say something.
I don't understand that. You're like, hey, I'm learning a language, and or I speak this not fluently, but I speak, and they're like, well, why? What do you? I mean, we get that from family and friends all the time. Why? Or they want to test your knowledge. Como se dice eso en español? Como se dice? Like, or they don't say it that way. They say, how do you say this in Spanish? Or they try to test you, and you're like, really? Come on. It's weird. So, what were you going to say, Damiene?
Okay, so the best way to keep a person a prisoner is to not let him know he's a prisoner, and he won't try to escape.
Wow.
So, unfortunately, the U.S. society has dumbed down the people to not know that they are trapped, so to speak, inhibited. They are within bounds. So that's only a natural reaction of someone who doesn't know that they are mentally trapped to say that to another person.
Wow.
And I think
that's the summary.
And it happens, I think I'm noticing too, just with Spanish, it happens not only with like language learning, it happens in other areas of life. You know what I'm saying? With us, unfortunately, it's like, bro, we don't do that. Like, why are you trying to go hiking in Arizona? Or like, why are you trying, it's just certain things that we're supposed to do and certain things that we're not supposed to do. It's just weird. Like, it's weird.
I'm not supposed to horseback ride. I'm not supposed to swim, and I'm not supposed to salsa dance. Those three things.
Oh, no.
None of the above.
No, Black people don't know how to swim. They also don't get mental health care.
Right.
We don't get health care in general. We don't put it in a book if you want to hide it from us. And like you said, Damiene, with the trapping issue of not telling somebody they're in a prison, you also can make them think they're free by giving them good little trinkets to play with, nice toys to rock us to sleep. But on the other hand, we learn quick, and when we put our mind to it, we are a resilient people. And when you Google YouTube channels of Black people speaking Spanish, I'm just amazed at you two are the same thing. When I saw it, I was like, self-taught. Like, imagine if you had really gone to school and had that opportunity that a lot of Caucasian people have to go to another country, travel abroad for a year, spend interchange and live in Peru and all of that. And your parents are like, yeah, go. If you had that, can you imagine how really, even farther we could go? But being self-taught has its own reward too, for me.
Agreed.
Well, that's one thing I also want to focus on is now we have that opportunity. We have networks here. You would be surprised at how many people from the States that I meet here in Colombia. So if you want to do it now, that network is available. Just reach out to somebody.
Me and Tiff want to go. We want to go. We want to go. We definitely So, which this is kind of what we've been talking about, what family, friends, support. I can say this honestly because my mother doesn't watch. But when I
this
would be
will be
practicing,
the episode she watches.
and she'd be like, "What did you say?" But when she was hearing me practice in the store, we would go like food shopping or something. In New York, Spanish is like, it's like this. English is not the first language, maybe. It's Chinese and Spanish. So we would be in the store and she would kind of like, she's Southern, she's from down south. So that's that Southern way of, girl, what you learning that for? Oh, girl, it's like a joke to her. And it kind of, like you said, it kind of turned me off. And I got a little discouraged. I was like, you know, I probably do look silly. I am a gringo, Brooklyn girl, you know, I'm sure I sound ghetto with my ghetto Spanish. And I kind of got discouraged by it. Do you guys experience that from your family and friends also, or just strangers, like saying, why do you learn that?
I can say in the beginning, yes, but over time they realize that it's something that, you know, I think I don't know. It's a mix of that, like, why are you doing all that? Like, you just, you know, this is just a play thing. You just, you know, but I'm trying to think, did they in particular really discourage me? Not too much. They just kind of just looked at it like, I think Mike was just going through a phase. He's, you know, and then he'll move past it. So luckily not from my family, but from friends, you know, it's like, Mike thinks he's Hispanic now. Like, he's trying to get with Hispanic girls. Why can't it be that I just want to learn Spanish? Why does it have to be I'm going for the Hispanic girls, or I'm trying to, you know what I mean? Like, why can't it be I'm genuinely interested in learning the language? Like, you know? So yeah, through friends, but through family, now they kind of just looked at it like, all right, here he goes, trying his little weird stuff, and he'll come back to normal in a couple of months. So
I think I was telling you, Damiene, in the store, I experienced that the Hispanic women will say to me, do you want a husband? Why are you learning Spanish? Do you want a man? Is this why you're learning? You got a boyfriend that's Spanish, so that's why you're learning Spanish.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know why I don't know. Yeah.
What does your family think about you taking classes and stuff?
Well, I mean, we remember, I don't take classes. Well, I guess we do. We kind of like take the same tutoring. Cindy and I, if you guys don't know, we have like a conversational Spanish class that we go to, or a tutor. I don't know what you want to call him, but we have a conversational thing that we do. And I mean, really, my immediate family, they're pretty supportive, but then you'll have the outside friends and family. Like with David, he loves it because when we travel, like we went to Rio, they don't speak Spanish, but Portuguese is very close to Spanish. And so I was able to communicate and understand a lot of the stuff. So it's like, you know, when you're going somewhere, so he sees the benefit in it. He sees the, you know, that it's important. He actually wants to learn. And Donnie, my 8-year-old, he wants to learn. So the immediate, my oldest son, he's like, why do you want to keep speaking Spanish around here? Like he's, and it's not in a bad, in a bad way, but it's like, you know, I'm already annoying because I'm a mom. So I guess that's just like whatever. But like I have friends that are just like, well, why? Or like, you really don't know Spanish, do you? Like kind of like doubtful, or kind of like they're, I don't know the word for it, but they're not discouraging, but they're not encouraging either.
But you had a friend that corrected you online once, right?
Oh yeah, she said, "Oh, I could tell that you're right. You're learning from a book," and I'm like, "Learning from a book?" Because the way I conjugated something, and she was just like, "No, I could tell that you're learning from a book," and I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm actually trying to work on my conjugation and my my pronunciation and stuff." So that's why I had written that. But she wasn't critical of me learning the Spanish, because she actually speaks 3 languages, so she wasn't critical of that. She was just critical of my I guess my writing skills, if you want to say, because we had written something online. But yeah, it's not so much discouraging or encouraging. It's kind of like, I don't know, like the guy said, it's kind of like you're doing something extra, like she's so extra.
You're doing the most. Wow. What are some of the benefits? I think we talked about a little bit, but the benefits of it, I think, especially for people of color. I think, Damiene, you said something like that. It expands your world, you know. Yes. What else do you think of the benefits you've experienced from being bilingual? Let's say bilingual.
Okay. So how much time do we got?
We good. We own this. So.
I was gonna say, as long as you need.
Okay. So So I'm gonna start off with the economic benefits.
Wait, I thought you were gonna say I'm gonna start off when I was 5. Don't go back that far.
No. I'll start off with the economic benefits. Like I said, 2017, they canceled my contract and I didn't go back to corporate America since. How have I been sustaining myself economically? By teaching English and Spanish.
Wow.
So that's an economic benefit right there, self-employment. Another economic benefit, unfortunately, too many of our people, since we're talking about in particular our people, African-American people, don't further their education as far as master's, doctorate degrees. So we have to compete. If the lower the education level, the more competition it's going to be. Bilingual, what type of job that you know that says that doesn't have on their benefit or a bonus or required bilingual? Mostly every job I've seen in employment ads, bilingual.
Yep.
So that's just benefits right there, economic benefits.
Yeah.
Also, like I said, like you have mentioned earlier, as far as, people of African descent speak Spanish as their first language. Correct. I would not know this if I didn't take the plunge to go to these countries. Like I said, I've been to Peru, I've been to Dominican Republic, and I'm here in Colombia, and I would not know. I've learned and met Afro-Colombians. People of African descent here in Colombia are at least 20% of the population. In the United States, it's only 13. And in Brazil, I believe it's like 49.
Yeah, it's high in Brazil.
And to piggyback off of what you said, Tiffany, because you're fluent in Spanish, you can understand at least 60% of Portuguese.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's true.
So you open your mind, you open your world, and you establish what we would say allies in this combative world, because you can communicate to a person. And not only that, if you show up speaking a language that people don't expect you to speak, or speaking a language that is someone else's native language, and you can communicate to them without pulling out your phone and sticking a translator in their face, they respect you a lot more.
Yes.
For me, just to piggyback off of what Damiene said, like first, I almost said it pretty metal in Spanish. The first, I'm so used to being here and saying. The first is what Damiene said. Those economic reasons. I have a friend who works for the IRS. He said, Mike, if you want, man, I just saw on the IRS website, just to translate these conversations that he has with the taxpayers and all that, they're paying $60,000 just for somebody that's bilingual to do translations in these meetings. I know in New York that's not a lot, but down here that's middle class. So there are plenty of economic opportunities. As I've always said before, it really, I feel like, improves the travel experience. When I went to Colombia, I went to Bogota first, and then my tutor, she showed me around Bogota, and her uncle, her family's from Cartagena, so her uncle showed me around Cartagena. This dude took me to the poorest of the poorest areas, where he told me he would never take a tourist that does not speak Spanish. I said, why? Like, I want to see it, but why did you feel comfortable bringing me there? Just to be honest, he said, you're Black, so you blend in, number one. But number two, he was like, if one of these dudes comes up to the car and talks to us or something, you understand what they're saying. If I tell you to do something, I don't speak English. He's telling me this in Spanish. So I can't take an average tourist here, because if I tell them to do something, they don't know what's going on. To me, that was the best day of my trip in Cartagena, going to from literally the poorest area to the richest area, and interacting with the people, going into markets where like the average tourist is not going to those places, because it's kind of tough, And so I would never have had that experience if I was only in Boca Grande, the very touristic part of the country. And the same thing is going to happen when I go to Peru. My Peruvian friends that live in Lima, they said, look, we're going to make sure you're safe, but we're going to take you to places that the average Peruvian goes to, like it just enhances the travel experience tenfold. And so, and it's just like a superpower. I view it as like a superpower. You go to a restaurant,
thank you.
And you're like,
thank you.
Like your brain goes off. You're like, I hear Spanish. Like, let me peep in on what's happening, So it's definitely cool. It's just a cool thing too. Like, it's cool. So
that's one of my favorite things. I love being in the store and I hear the employee telling them, I'll be like, Mom, he's saying this. I mean, like, he telling him so-and-so, they arguing. I mean, like this, even, you know, I'm in Brooklyn, so we're all on top of each other's houses. I hear the workers across the way. I'm like, they fussing at each other so bad.
And one of the things I noticed traveling is we're like one of the only countries that do not encourage having dual languages or having more than one language under our belt. I remember going, I was in France and I don't speak French at all. It's not even similar to anything I know. And we were in a restaurant and I couldn't understand, like they shouldn't have to cater to us when we're going over there to, you know, to have a language in English and in French. So I'm looking at it and I'm telling him, you know, trying to communicate as best as I can that I don't speak French. And he's looking at me like, why not? Are you American? And I am American, but I'm like, and I almost wanted to explain, like, I understand Spanish, I speak Spanish, but I didn't get to French yet. And it's almost like that's what we're saddled with. We're saddled with, you know, you guys don't learn or want to learn or are not encouraged to learn more than one language. And most other countries do have, I mean, more than one or two or three languages that they speak, and just with ease too. So it's kind of crazy. It's weird to see.
One of my friends, she spoke French, English, Spanish. She spoke like 5 languages.
Wow.
And she was like, you know, in other countries, that's why they think Americans are stupid, because we're so in our bubble. And then can you imagine what they think of Black Americans? You know, if they think that of America in general, can you imagine what they think about us? And she was like, they just think that you're so politically unaware, socially unaware. I mean, the last president was like, in America, we speak English. And I was like, actually, that's not, first of all, America doesn't have a national language. That's number one. This country does not have English is your formal language. And number two, probably most people here outside of the ones that were born here are bilingual of some kind, Chinese, Spanish being the top 2 languages in America in general. And I was like, so many other languages, Arabic, just please. So I was like, we are so unaware. And when we go somewhere, I would really feel like an idiot. I really would, because the little kids be speaking 3 languages.
Yeah, and it threw me for a loop when he asked me that. He's like, why don't you speak French? And I'm like, I don't know. I kind of was like, I just wanted to start speaking in Spanish to prove to him, like, I don't just speak one language, like, but it's that's a stigma that we're saddled with. And I don't even want to say a stigma. It's a reality for a lot of people, especially American-born individuals. So we have to fix that and start spreading the word that, hey, it's like Damiene said, it has economic power too, because a lot of jobs are asking for bilingual individuals. So that's a benefit right there, more money. I mean, come on.
Because if everybody's going to have a degree, you got to distinguish yourself. And I mean, it's not only jobs, but like acting roles. If you want to be an actress or actor and you're bilingual, you've already got to the top of the heap, because a lot of the movies are dubbed, subtitled, you know, that would be a benefit. If you a makeup artist, or if you a travel agent, or if you a stewardess, flight attendant, or anything, being bilingual can't hurt. Like, how could it hurt? Like, you know, I mean your subtitle is culture through
conectando culturas a través del lenguaje, creando solidaridad.
All right now.
But
that's what
I was gonna say in English, speaking of Spanish, ¿qué es tu frase favorito en español?
Oh, yeah, sí.
Oh, bueno, mi frase favorita es, bueno, hay muchas. Bueno, ok, mi frase favorita es, sí, obvio, yo soy salsero, mamá.
And what does that mean in English?
Okay, that means obviously I'm a salsa dancer, baby.
¿Y tú, Mike?
Para mí sería 2 y son básicos de basic, pero los mexicanos dicen como me vale madres, como Like I don't care about that. Like me vale madres, como exactly.
Me vale
So,
madres.
literalmente, yeah, me vale madres. Like it doesn't. They say madre to say like a thing, like cosa. They say madre. I don't know why. Yeah, but it's like that's like I don't care about that. Like somebody's telling me something that's like nonsense. Like me vale madres. Like I don't care about that. Yeah.
That's like the Dominicans say, like ese vaina. And Dominicans usually say like something is a vaina. It's like a nothing, like a thing.
Madre is vaina in
Spanish
and Mexican Spanish.
That's what's interesting about Spanish to me. Like, you know, the different places can say something different, but it's all to me just muy sexy.
Yeah. And I guess it's like when you go to different parts of the United States, certain states say certain phrases to mean certain things. So I guess it's the same in Spanish-speaking countries or communities too. So
I like the saying. I like the Maya Angelou saying. I'm probably gonna mess it up now because I'm all nervous.
I know.
Cuando la gente te muestra quiénes son, créelos.
Sí.
Es mi favorito. Es la verdad.
No tengo una frase favorita.
No?
No.
But you asked the question.
I know. No, I have to think. I have to think of one, but I don't.
A word. What about a word? Is there a word you like?
No, nothing.
I don't know why I just like entonces. I don't know why.
I have a question for you all. What's your favorite accent? Your favorite Spanish accent?
Either Mexico or Cubano.
Okay.
Yeah.
Me is Dominican Republic. Dominicans.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I understand them more. It's easier to understand. Yeah, to me. Yeah.
¿Y tú, Damiene?
El acento colombiano.
Wow.
And I agree. Especially like I know it's like the popular thing to say, but the Paisa accent, it literally sounds like they're singing, like men and women. Like I like it though. I don't know why. Like I can just listen to them talk. Like
they're very this is gonna sound crazy because I know people hate when you say it, but it's very smooth. Like you don't have that. See, Latin American accent. You got to be listening, like Cuban, Puerto Rican, Dominican. You got to be like listening, especially Cuban is very coarse. But Colombian Spanish to me is just very smooth.
Yeah,
very smooth. But Mexican Spanish to me is I understand them the most. I don't know why. I don't know. No sé por qué.
Maybe because you're around them a lot too. I mean, in New York,
Mexicans in New York City is
Your ear tends to hear what you're around and what you're used to.
Yeah, because I can it's like I'm listening to English when I hear them.
Oh wow,
man, this was fun, guys. I do have one more question. I don't know if you had any more questions, Cindy. One more question. If you had, if someone wanted to learn a language, not just Spanish, even if they wanted to learn English, would it see? I'm not fluent. I'm not fluent in English either. Because if they wanted to learn a language, what tip would you give them to start, and how? Like, what type of things would you tell them to do or get involved in? Either one of you guys, or both of you guys.
I me as a teacher? No, I would say first what you want to do is work on learning 10 useful phrases that you're going to use every day. Learn those 10 useful phrases and then branch off from those 10 phrases. I'll give you an example. What is your name? So, yo me llamo, and then they might, okay, so how do you spell your name? Then learn to spell your name and branch off from there like that. Then after that, look for a good, inexpensive workbook that'll take you from learning at least 10 different subjects in Spanish. Because one thing I would say is, as far as learning a foreign language, it's not very costly. But that would be the two things I would give them advice on.
What about
and
you?
I would agree wholeheartedly. Like those workbooks, that's literally how I learned Spanish. Like
I saw your video on that. Yeah.
It's like it's just perfect. They say in English we say this, in Spanish they say this. do 15 practice problems with that. You work them out. By the end of that, the next day you wake up, you remember it, and you just keep doing that every day. And it's helped me a lot. So of course there are other things, but from the beginning, I would agree with Damiene in that. Yeah, for sure.
This wasn't part of our questions, but I do want to ask, do you have a regret about the way you learned? Like, not a regret, but something you would do different if you could redo it? For me, I would be speaking from day one. I regret not speaking.
Good question.
You see, I was thinking about that when y'all were talking. Like, what do you do different now that you're either fluent or close to fluent? What would you say you would do differently if you could talk to yourself before you started?
That's a good question. That's a very good question.
I would say.
Okay.
I would tell myself, what the hell are you waiting for? You should have been on this many years ago.
He got out of that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Vaya.
Exactly. And I would say, don't feel shy no matter what nobody tells you. Yeah. Speak it at every moment you get.
Yep.
Okay, and that makes me think of mine is don't, and I know this is very simple, but I would not look for what I did a lot, and I still have to fight this to this day. Don't look for validation from like native speakers, especially if you live in the United States. Wow. I had to learn somebody, and I know I don't want to offend anybody, but a Mexican American is different than a Mexican. You're gonna get a way different reaction if you're speaking Spanish to Mexican Americans than you will if you go to Mexico and speak. Same thing with anybody here, and that would apply to any language, you know? Yeah. Like, I think I went to a restaurant one time and like the dude, I tried to speak Spanish, the dude looked at me like, well, why are you talking to me in Spanish? And that discouraged me. But in retrospect, I should not have done that. You know, it's like, I shouldn't have used those people are not the guardians of the language. You know, they don't. Right. A random waiter doesn't determine whether or not I should learn the language or not. So no, it's not a practical tip, like a study tip or anything, but that for me was important.
It's true. I should have realized. For me, I should have realized perfection doesn't exist. And if you're not perfect in your own language, so how can you be? Why are you expected to be perfect in another language? So I would have started speaking right away and not tried to learn everything before I speak, because now it's hard for me. I understand most things, but then it's now I gotta go, I know too many errors now. So I'm thinking about the errors. You know, if as a baby, you didn't know you sounded like duh, boy. You didn't know you sounded like that. So you just said duh, boy, and it just didn't make sense. Now I know that doesn't make sense. So I'm always going, wait, that's not the rule. That's not the rule. So I've developed the fear just based on too much knowledge, too much. Yeah.
And you just shouldn't be afraid to, I was going to say, you shouldn't be afraid to make mistakes. And I look at my 8-year-old and he's still, his conjugation or whatever, like he'll say, he catched it. And that's how I sound in Spanish sometimes, because my conjugation is all off. Instead of saying he caught it, it should be, he should be saying he caught it instead of he catched it. So you're being corrected by making those mistakes. You're making those mistakes, but then it's also a correction. And once you start fixing it, don't be afraid to make the mistakes, because that'll, get you the correction that you need. And then you'll start understanding how to say it the right way. So I think speak more, like everyone is saying, the key is to speak more. That's how kids learn. That's how everyone learns. They hear and they speak. They communicate. Find a friend like Cindy and I. We converse in Spanish, and we do a lot of these little Spanish little courses and activities. So find someone that you may be interested in learning or on your level as well. So that's something that makes it fun, and they'll push you and you'll push them to do better. So that's just my tip.
Wow, I could talk forever about language. I'm sorry.
I know.
I just wanted to piggyback off what Michael was saying as far as a Mexican American and a Mexican. When you travel to Spanish-speaking countries and you attempt to speak the language, you get a better, warmer reception and appreciation than you would from a person who left their native country and come to the United States. Unfortunately, when people leave their country and come to the United States, they develop some type of, negative essence or aura about someone trying to speak the language. Like Mike said, why are you trying to speak to me in Spanish? You're not Spanish. That doesn't exist here in Colombia. That does not exist in the Dominican Republic. That does not exist in Peru.
Wow.
The lady, when I had just recently returned from Peru, I was on there for 2 weeks, and the lady, you know, the Airbnb lady, she sent me a message on WhatsApp, and then, you know, she sent it to me in English, but then I responded in Spanish, because I'm in Peru, they speak Spanish, so I responded in Spanish. She said to me, "Oh, good, you speak Spanish. I thought I was going to have to struggle with English." That's far from a reaction like, "Why are you trying to speak Spanish? We're in America."
Wow. Well, you both have certainly, I mean, me and Tiff are always talking about we want to go, we want to go, we want to go. We were supposed to go last year, but then the pandemic hit. I am out of here. I'm so out of here because I'm ready to start really applying it with the natives in other countries and just kind of breaking the color line. And like you said, definitely the reaction here is a little more, I think it's because sometimes they want to practice English and you want to practice Spanish. But the other thing is, I think it's just, you're in my country, you need to be speaking Spanish, because why should I have to break my brain speaking English? So I think though, you know, but you have definitely encouraged me to travel abroad and maybe even live there. You should.
You should. Yeah.
You never know.
You never know.
That is the tip. You know, you got to do the wrap up, because you know, don't forget to, you guys, thank you so much for coming on. We just want to say thank you for your time. We're going to leave all your information in the bottom.
Thank you for having me.
I mean,
yes.
Language is so important, I think, for people of color in one level, and just for everybody in general, especially Americans, to break those stereotypes. Guys, we hope you enjoyed this episode of Polychicks Talking Language. Don't forget to, Tiff, now this is your part, because I will forget.
So don't forget to like, subscribe, and share 2Polichics on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and it's Polychicks on YouTube, because you found us here. So you guys have a good one.
All right. Bye, guys.